For those of you who don't know who I am, Eric Hinkle, production team leader for half the production team here in the US. Not much more to that than that. I'm going to talk to you guys with a hopefully more developer focused Jira best practices and introduction. Um, I'll be touching on a lot of the things that are PM or admin related as well, but some of you guys, anybody in here a PM and a dev? Do we have any PMs in here? Okay, so you guys both got it twice already, though, or at least once. All right. So I guess for everybody who's not informed on this one, the whys as to why we were switching to Jira. Well, first off, I don't know that anybody was particularly enthused about Vision Flow, but we support actual Scrum with Jira. We got integrations, so if you were part of one of the meetings yesterday, you've heard a lot about these different tools that are getting introduced into our ecosystem. Things like, well, there's Jira, there's Service Desk, there's Sentry, there's GitLab, MyConfigura. All these things are hopefully going to talk to each other and work more seamlessly. Right now, everything is kind of siloed in its own thing. Much better project visibility because of lots of the different tools that are in there, dashboards and releases and all that stuff. You'll see this as we go through. And yeah, those other things. So here's where we are on the timeline. We're still on track. We're going to start contacting either your management or your project managers over the next weeks to schedule and discuss the migration. Don't panic. There is no real day where we're gonna not, like in the near future, where we're not gonna have Vision Flow available. So that will still be out there for quite a while. Obviously we're gonna be not having new stuff happening in there, and we'd like to limit that beyond a certain point. But the data will be there. We can migrate the data over. All that stuff is good. Same thing with Git. If you didn't see yesterday, history will come over just fine. So quick disclaimer, I just want everybody to be aware that we have tried to think about partner needs throughout this process. We've got partners in Jira right now that are poking around and trying to see what does and does not work. I know 2 of them are in this room already, actually. So, but be patient. This is an iterative thing. We're not opposed to making changes. It hasn't been taken off the table that we may just open up the workflow, and you'll see why. We talk about that in a minute. So the general interface to Jira looks like that picture right there. That's your main interface that you're going to see when you go to the project view. The first page you actually hit, though, is, does this thing work? Yay. Dashboard. That's generally that first page you hit. We're going to go over that in a little bit. But yeah, this is the general interface that you're going to have. So a project, just like in Vision Flow, a project is just that master container for all your issues. That's really the heart of all it is. There's not much more to it. Only note, this is the unfortunate situation we're in right now. Only configurants can create these projects right this moment. You really only should need one, just like with Vision Flow, or 2 or 3. I don't know. Some people have a support project. I don't know if that's going to be needed anymore because of Service Desk. But yeah, they're quick to make. They're not hard. If you need one and you don't have one, you'll just have to ask us to quick, and that is a quick turnaround. It takes like 5 minutes. So user roles. This is fairly similar to Vision Flow. They're different. There's less of them, but the only difference, the one that's really new, is this one right here. And this is important because we, again, support real Scrum in Jira. So you've got to have somebody with the permission level to create and groom a sprint that doesn't have maybe full project admin access. So that's why that role exists. These two are quite similar. I believe this one's also quite similar, but I don't really know much about this one. But these two are pretty much the same at this point, same access. We can do much more with these in the future if we need. We can introduce more. No reasons to not do that if we needed to. Yes.
Is Jira required to function in Scrum style?
Nope. Nope, does not. Yeah. But if you are using a Scrum board, it's really only when you choose to use a Scrum board that you will have to have a Scrum Master on the team in order to create those. Or you're always gonna have one of these. So if that person's willing to do it, you're good. All right. So adding a user to a project, this is not something much you're going to need to do very often, but I'll just leave it to this slide. I'm not going to demo it. Actually, I think this is only doable by an admin now that I think about it. So if you're an admin, towards the bottom, like left corner of the screen, you'll see like an admin settings button. Once you click that, you will get a users and groups section that you can select, and then you will have this button here. This laser pointer is fun. So the users and group sections, you just click that, you add a name in, you pick a role, you add them. It's that simple. And this kind of reminds me, at least, Jira itself, I found it to be extremely, extremely intuitive. There's not a really high training bar here, so I don't think people are going to struggle getting in, especially you guys. I think the project managers and project owners will struggle a little bit more because it's just it's not a tool that they're used to using. This is a tool that's very similar to other tools you guys use, so you'll get in there and use it pretty easily. So issue types that exist in Jira, these probably look pretty similar to what was in Vision Flow before. We didn't have this one or this one. We kind of had this in Vision Flow. I don't know if there was an actual subtype task or subtask type in Vision Flow, but some notes about this grouping right here at least. So a story is really intended to be something that is consumable in one sprint. So if you know that this thing that you're planning out is going to span multiple sprints, don't use story because it's going to be complicating your reporting. A story and a task are kind of siblings, almost equivalent to each other. You don't add a child task to a story and linking these together. You might have reasons to do some linking occasionally. That's on you guys, but you can't. And mainly what I want to emphasize is this cannot really be a child to this, though you can kind of structure it that way if you use linking. And if you do so, your filtering is going to be a nightmare. So just don't do that. That's mostly what that warning is about. Something else to note though, subtasks are can be part of either this or this, so story or task. If you've added a subtask during a sprint and that subtask isn't complete, this is fairly obvious now that I'm going through it, but it sort of surprises people. It will hold up that overall story from being done. So be careful about subtasks. Again, make sure it's something you're adding in that will be finished in that sprint if you are sprinting. Epics are what I have found to be better used for things like products, not product line, because an epic is something that will span multiple sprints. So if I'm doing some sort of product that is going to take a long time, that might be a more appropriate use of an epic. If that thing I know is going to be doable in one sprint, I'll use a story. And epics can be linked to basically, I think, all of these, probably these two. I haven't tried, but at least all those three. True. I remember that now. And I guess we'll show you how to create an issue because that is something that all of you guys will be doing, and it's very simple. So here's Jira. This is my dummy project that I'm using, and then we'll get handed off to Paul once he's taking over this into our internal Scrum stuff. So the easiest way to create a ticket is just hit C on your keyboard, and I take it back. Errors. That was a good error. It even said glitchy in there. Let's make it easy. All right, let's see if I can. I hadn't logged back in today. Where'd my mouse go? There it is. All right. So now if I hit C, hey, there's my create ticket window. There's occasionally these little spots throughout Jira though, where if you'll hit create or C, it takes you to like this whole new page with a next button. I still haven't quite figured out what the difference is and where you're coming from when that happens, but occasionally it happens to me. So you'd pick a project, issue type. This is very, very obvious. If you need extra fields, you have these fields here. These are all the fields that will be available right now. There are no custom fields in Jira, though I would assume that any custom field needs out there can be filled through either these fields or some other mechanism in Jira. So. I would also urge you to fill in as much of this information as possible. This is more for the PMs than anybody else, because if you don't, your reporting is basically garbage. So good data in, good data out. So if you don't put good data in, crap data out. It's probably obvious to most of you guys. All right. There also is that create button on the top, but we're all developers. We like keyboard shortcuts. So I'm going to show you a few of those while we're here today. They're very handy. All right, skip that. So searching. This one I wish I'd prepared a little more for you guys on. Searching is extremely powerful in Jira. You can use operators in there to make your search smarter. The search is also, and anybody correct me if I'm wrong here, the same format, the same JQL query you use when you're making a filter. So you can use those to do searches as well, which, I mean, a filter is just a search essentially. So searches are extremely powerful. Filters, that's where I was going next with this. Also extremely nice advantage over vision flow at this point. I'm sure this is a pretty standard feature through most ticketing softwares, but this right here is a huge thing. That was not something you could do in vision flow unless you contacted RIT and had them create it and like add it to your project, then it was a pain. So nobody really did that. But now anybody on the project can create a filter and share it to a group or a person or any of that stuff. And it's very easy to do so. I'll show you that really fast. So if I have a filter, so the easiest way to get to creating a filter is to actually go to your main issues view. So I just will go to like maybe bugs and to do. Let's see what that shows. All right, there's some stuff there. Now, if I want to make a filter, this is the basic filter view right here. I could switch to advanced, and this is where I can start doing that JQL stuff, which is neat. There's lots of documentation online for this. So, filtering is basically, you can do any kind of filtering you want. The main, basic way of creating filters is still pretty powerful. You can filter on just about anything. It's only when you need to start doing some thinking in your query in the filtering that you really want to start thinking about the JQL, like trying to show linked tasks of stories at the same time as a story. I think that was one of the pain points I had when making a filter, and I had to go online and pull out a query somewhere. So anyway, once you've created it, you hit save, and you would get this screen right here. Give it a name. That's it. Now you have filters down in this area and an area called My Filters, which I believe, yeah, right here you can get if you go to Find Filters. Oh, sorry, My. There's a few ways to get there. So you find your filter, and you can select it here. Actually, I think that's going to actually use it. Sorry, I meant to actually click over here. Click this, edit. Now you can share it to people. And all you got to do is add a group or a person, and it's shared. So all right. So filter creation, quick filters. So if you are creating boards for a team, these are a special type of filter that you add to the board, and then you will get, please have it, yep, there it is, a view like that for quickly selecting the filter. So this is another good tool for project managers to make sure their team is looking at a consistent view. I really like this feature. This is something you couldn't do in Vision Flow. So now you can create a board that works the way you need it to work, and you can add these filters and have all your team looking at the same stuff. So dashboards, I find it better to just go straight to the dashboard to show it. So the first screen you see in Jira when you log in is going to be your dashboard. To create a dashboard, if you don't have one, you're just going to have a button to create one over here. But if you need to create multiple dashboards, you have a manage dashboard section there. You can create a new dashboard, and it's just a very simple give me a name, and then you get a blank dashboard. So once you have a dashboard up that's blank, you can click this add gadgets button. And this is the one really frustrating thing, and I think it was Christopher confirmed that this also happens with Cloud Jira. You have to click this load dash. I don't know why. It's stupid. But now you get a whole bunch of gadgets, and you can even write your own gadgets if you want. So for myself, when I'm doing development, I like to use a gadget like this assigned to me. I have this other one right here that's just a snip of my board that's out there. For project managers out there, one of the pain points in Jira is, sometimes you get this flood of issues and it's hard to see what's going on where. This one's pretty neat because it'll show the activity on tickets. So it shows the severity of a ticket. That's a high priority, and it'll show how much activity it's got. So if you're seeing a bunch of activity on something, it's going to kind of get called out to you quickly, and you can maybe go talk to those people about that issue and maybe get it resolved a little quicker. So there's a lot of dashboards like this that can help for project management and targeting these issues that are coming in and what's highest priority or how efficient we're being and all that stuff. Same with the reporting. For you guys though, there's also a whole range of dashboards that just help you in specifically targeting what your are, So I mainly find assigning me a to do, with a filter in there to be extremely helpful. There's lots more. You're just gonna have to take time to go and really poke around in this and find what's useful for you because it's entirely personal to me. Some of the things that are useful to me, I'm sure Paul thinks are dumb. All right, so I'm going to assume everybody in here is familiar with the difference between Scrum and Kanban. This is a slide from my other presentation, so anybody not, don't be embarrassed. I'm more than happy to clarify this. Okay. So, boards. This, again, is a project admin feature, but I think it's good for you guys to see what goes into configuring these, even if you're not necessarily going to configure them, because you probably should have some input on how it's structured or how it would work best for you, given it's a tool for you. So to configure the board, you can go drop down the board. Actually, I'm getting too ahead of myself here. So if you want to create a board, you'd go to your project and you can click this drop down here and create a board. Or you can click this area here, go to view all boards, and you'll get a create board button. When you create a board, you get an option between choosing a Scrum board and a Kanban board. So a Scrum board is what I was telling Paul about earlier. This is what's saying I am going to operate in sprints. When you create a Scrum board, you then have to create sprints, load the backlog for the sprint, and start the sprint for people to be able to work on those tasks. Kanban is just going to be, it's your backlog prioritized. That's it. And boards can span multiple projects. They can be using filters. They can just be using a project to pull its issues in. There's lots of different ways the board can pull together multiple things that aren't really related in Jira. So for us, it's going to be really handy because QA can have a board for QA where they're just pulling tickets that are in a certain status, but it's everybody's projects. Same thing for an implementation partner. LST's over here. You guys might have a lot of use for a multi-project board with your team. I can see that being extremely useful. So once you have the board, you go to that configure section here. Now, if you're on a developer permission level, you're not going to be able to configure the board, I don't believe. That's a PM or project admin role. But you can add you can add as many columns as you want or remove as many columns as you want. I could drop it down to 2 columns if I wanted to be weird and have everything in these 2. You put the statuses and the ones that you care about, and I'm just randomly throwing these in different spots. And then once you are on your board, you can do things like So now my board's going to be in 2 columns, probably pretty useless, but I can take this, I can drop it in here, and it's changed the status, it's moved. I got some gratification from moving something into an area that's no longer my problem. And yeah, it's extremely powerful way to work with our issues without having to actually open the issue. If you need to open the issue, you just double click, I think, or yeah, that's right, you got this screen. And then you can click that. It'll take you to the main issue view. Any questions on boards? Yes. So did you notice here when I grabbed that one? Let me show you here. So test rejected. There's different areas, exactly. So you have to target the one that you're intending to hit. But you can change how those work with swim lanes, I believe. And I haven't played with that a ton. That's something I'm planning to do as I get into starting to train us all internally a little bit more, is really understand. Because there's a lot more complexity in the boards than I just showed you. This is an introduction. So if you've got experience with boards, you might be sitting here going, yeah, I can do all these other cool things. Well, yeah, you can. So there's a lot of good power here. Anything else? Feel free to stop me at any point if you got questions or concerns. All right. Some confirmation on board creation. This is just so you guys can get these slides and remember how to do this stuff if you forget. So releases, I'm going to very quickly talk about this one because this is, again, another more of a PM focused thing, but this is that idea, good data in, good data out. So if you're marking issues with a release number and giving it estimates and stuff like that, you will get a lot of really neat data regarding your release. Things like this right here is pretty handy just to see real quick. I don't even have to look. I can see what's done, what's in progress, what's to do right there as a PM. They even have a nice little, I'll show you this one. If I go to the best project I have to look at this right now is Fika. If I go to releases here, they've put some of this information in. So I can quickly come, I got a little bar graph, I can see, again, done and in progress, but I've got a little bit of an idea quickly where I'm at on this release. Now, this doesn't tell me everything I might need to know, but if all I care about is I'm halfway, I get that information here real quick. So this one's a handy one. That's, you have to tell it. So when I move an issue for ready for test, I'm saying it's part of this version, or when you're creating an issue, you say it's part of this intended version. There's also a fixed in field for code, so it's going to tell you that's intended to be kind of like an open-ended field where you can say it's in, you know, XYZ branch or this change list or whatever. So that's more for a key. But the actual versions that you would be defining are like, it'll actually give you suggestions and you'll select a version. So you'll want to make sure you preload versions in there. Everybody's aware of what version to be marking tickets as they're moving them out, stuff like that. Yes, I believe so. Yes. You are project admin. Well, let's see if we can change it here. Do you mind? You want me to do it right now? All right. So here's Midmark. That's Andrew from Midmark right there. He's one of them that's in here dinking around with Jira. So I am an admin. Let's go to the project settings and go to users and roles. I thought I added you. You're in the admin section. So you still can't create releases? So if I go to the release area, type information in there. Yeah, once you fill it, it'll give you the ability to type it in. Yeah. I had that same moment, dude. Yeah, no. Totally understand that. I literally did the same thing. Why can't I add this here? So yeah. There you go. So there we go. So releases. This is PM tool. Reporting. I mean, I don't think I got to go over why reporting is super powerful for this. I've been emphasizing that the whole time. We've got standard reporting types in there. You can customize reporting to be anything you want. So that's really all you need to know about reporting. This, again, more of a project manager thing. I doubt a lot of the developers are running reports on the projects, but maybe if you're trying to improve your estimates or something like that, you can do stuff like that. All right, here's the biggie. So this is the big change from Vision Flow, in my opinion. I think it's good. So let me give you the whys as to why we're doing this. We want people to have. There's multiple whys, but the biggest is, so there's two big ones. One, this special status right here. This is an interesting one because when you move your ticket, so tickets are going to come in, they'll be in the new status. When you're trying to verify the status, we have this status for more info needed verification. When you move it to that, it's going to, let's assume that this ticket came from a service desk customer. So that's support. So that's a separate ticket. All right, that's the system that interfaces with users. So if I need more information about how to reduce this issue and it came from service desk, I'll be moving it to this status and then an automation, and it links whatever I'm doing to the service desk area so that the support person can contact the user, or the user can put this information back on there if they've got a license to service desk. This is something that's fully yet to be ironed out, because part of this does Vision Flow allowed us to directly communicate with users through the ticket, and I think that could be important. So that is that is something I would like to hear. If people are going to see that as a large issue, and we need to figure out some way for Jira to open that up, I want to hear that. I suspect I know what the answer would be. Yes. So a lot of the issues that on the project I'm working on right now, a lot of the issues I'm getting, I don't need feedback from like a user or someone outside of scope. It's someone at the manufacturer. They will have Jira licenses. Right, but it seems weird. They wouldn't, in the case for that. So in your situation, your partners are going to be filing tickets directly into Jira. So when you move it to more info needed, it's just going into an area where they can comment on the Jira ticket. This is mostly for user support issues, where this will take place. Now, in that case, what I think most manufacturers will do and prefer to do anyway. I mean, I know the ones that I work with have preferred to do this. They prefer to handle that communication for the developers. So I know that the manufacturer I work with will have a service desk license and be on this ticket in service desk if it's a user support issue. So that person will be the one who's responsible to contact the users, get the clarification, get the reproduction steps, and push that over to the Jira ticket for the developer. That's what I think is going to be the more common case, because most people's teams, they try to create a little bit of a barrier between the users for working purposes. I'm not saying that's necessarily a good or bad thing. I'm just saying I've seen that. Now, if your workflow does not work that way, so I guess I'm thinking you guys, let's talk.
Yeah, Vision Flow anonymizing the email that we send means that very frequently, as a developer, like if I get a crash, I'll say, okay, what were you doing, right? And
Yep.
send that so that without we worry that, okay, now they have my email and they're going to be sending me 500 emails a day trying to
Right.
get stuff done immediately.
Now, I would assume that you will have a service desk account.
Yeah, but I have 4 other developers.
Now, do all 4 of them exactly? So you don't want to funnel that through you. Yeah, exactly.
Right. I don't want to have to wait for my support person to,
Yep.
Okay, I send it over here, they're going to have to check service desk, and when they get a chance to check service desk, then they're going to send an email, and then it comes in, and it waits there until they move it over to here. Now, I could see if okay, they pinged an email, it's linked to the software ticket and also pushed the comment directly.
Yeah.
So they don't have to push it.
Yeah.
That would be a step that would make it a little easier.
That may be what. Yeah.
All comments on the main ticket in software.
Yep.
That makes it a little simpler.
I also know that this is not a limitation of Jira. This is a limitation that we've created here. So, I don't. I think that ultimately we're gonna need something in Jira that allows teams like Hayworth to do this, because we can't just require that always go through. You guys want that information in the Jira issue. I think the thought process is less about getting devs away from the users, more about keeping the tickets clean. Because I think there's a lot of garbage that ends up in a user ticket that is noise for a developer. So I think the intent is that Jira will just have the communication that's needed for the developer to do their work. That's what the intent is. How it is, we're going to work through this. So that's why we need a little, we need your help through this process. We need to know where we've made assumptions that are incorrect. So that's number one reason why we have a restrictive workflow. The other one is we want some consistency between projects. We'd like to be able to shuffle our developers around a bit more in the future without any training bar for a ticketing system. Not that that's exceptionally high in a lot of cases, but I think that's an advantage to anybody, at least internally at Configura, working on projects that all share the same workflow. They know how the project works, and tickets go through the system. So there's just a lot less questions, a lot less like, what happens now that I'm moving it to ready for test? Who's responsible for it? Blah, blah, blah. It's all already, standard procedure for the project. Comments, questions? Yes, James.
Would it not be, better to set, 4 or 5 standard workflows, and as long as those kind of manufacture a little bit of room to play?
That's not off the table. Yeah, it's not off the table at all. And especially, once you're outside of this, I think most of the automation's not needed anymore. I want to say early on, we had a lot of automations up in here as well for testing with QA. And I think we removed that because I think initially testing went up into here, and then it spun off a new ticket. I love this freaking laser pointer. So yeah.
You talk about automation. Are we going to be able to write our own automated scripts? Jira has a standard.
It's a good question. I don't know. Do you know if that could be isolated to a project?
Each script can.
It can?
Right, yeah. So you can have certain scripts isolated.
I would imagine it can be isolated to a project. We'd be okay with that, as long as it's only to a project. Yeah, because that's the concern, is we don't want anybody affecting other projects.
When you write it, you do write it for a specific project.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Right. So, questions? These are all the statuses. This one is all available to everything.
I think you should look at like not repeatable or issue rejected being added in there. We frequently use that where we don't want to delete a ticket or necessarily put it in a bucket where, okay, we're closing it for X, Y, Z reason, but like crashes will frequently get set not repeatable or under watch, where one, okay, we saw 4 more. Now we want to go back and look at the logs for all of them to really try to nail down, because now we're seeing them a bunch. We may not be able to repeat it, but we need to flag
labels for that.
That's where my brain was starting to go with that one. You could potentially move it to like just leave it in new with a label, or so there is a resolution on closed for cannot reproduce. So there is it's a resolution on a status. Now I'm pretty sure you'd be able to filter on that. Actually, I'm positive you'd be able to filter on that. So that's another thing. So filters along with those, closed in a cannot reproduce status, or maybe even a closed cannot reproduce status along with a label, is going to hit you there.
I see a revisit one as well.
Yeah. So those might be handy for that, but I'm not certain how that's going to work myself either, because I think like we're all so used to just having statuses for all these, and I think we're trying to limit the number of statuses to some degree, but I don't think there's not necessarily opposition to a status. If it's extremely needed, we're gonna add it. Like this, what was one that I had added? Like I had this one renamed, and there was we added one. I can't remember what it was. Anyway, we added a lot of connections to make things a little more um, a little bit easier to use. But we could add one. And again, it's not off the table that all of these go just straight to open completely all the way down. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. All right. Yes.
Do we have access to
Screen management. Nope. Educate me.
completely customize when you go through when you create? You can completely customize how that looks, what fields are there. Like you already said, we can have access to the custom fields.
Yeah.
Jira allows custom fields.
Yeah.
You can add tabs to those.
Interesting. No, I I'll have to look into that. This features that I haven't talked about. What is it called? Screen management?
Yeah, they're called screens.
Okay. I'd like to.
Send me an email.
Yeah. Well, we should connect on that. I mean, a lot of the stuff that I've learned about Jira, just so everybody knows, James James helped me learn. We worked together on a previous project. so yeah, he's quite the master. I'm curious about that because that could be neat, and that may be something helpful for you guys as well if it's something that can be isolated to a project.
There's like three main screens, create, edit.
Okay. So, any other questions? Cool. All right, so changing statuses. You saw how we did that in the board. I'm over on time. Do you want me to stop? I'm not? I thought it was 8 to 8:30. Yeah, 10 minutes over. I'm 10 minutes over already.
Mine is super adjustable.
Okay. All right, so I'm gonna just fly through this. This is if you're on the main issues screen. This is just some buttons that you can use to change status. I have liked this view a lot in the past, especially when you're stuck on one ticket for a while. But yeah, it doesn't really help too much. It's just another way to change statuses. The board changing estimates. So this is gonna be something that some of you guys may have some opinions on. When you move a ticket to ready for dev, and actually I'm gonna go back here. Okay, so this I think got renamed to to-do now, so this is out of date, sorry. So when you move a ticket to this status, you're gonna be popped with the estimate screen automatically. So if there's an estimate there or not, you're still gonna see that screen. So just an FYI, you can just hit enter and get past it if you've already got data, or you can enter an estimate, which is probably smart. Good data in, remember? So ready for test. This one is a nicety here. We are using test stages in Jira. So obviously we talked about the fixed in version. That's important. But this test stage, it's optional, but I think is extremely important because Git QA is going to work. First, you're going to test in developer, then you'll confirm that that thing made it through to a build. This is at least in my view the best way of doing QA in a sprint. Dev then build, because that's just too much. We've had a lot. I've seen a lot of time wasted when you're having to constantly create builds and something gets missed and QA is confused and yeah. Yeah. I mean, I would have your QAs get a developer license, create up a workspace, and then with Git, you're going to be able to say, this particular branch has this change, go test it. And then once it's done. Yep. Well, no, they wouldn't build. They just test it in running in dev mode. Because there's no difference. And that way you can quickly get them through the test. Because if there's a little thing that's wrong with it, comes back to you, quick little change, push it back to them. There's no constantly building and publishing. Yeah, well, and then so the next stage, after it's confirmed, after they mark it as developed ready, they leave it in ready for test, and they come back to it once the build comes out that's intended to have that release. They confirm it's there in the build stage, move it on. Yeah, and that way you don't have to spend a lot of time in that build. That build goes out, they just go through, confirm all these issues that were already confirmed to be fixed, made it through, kick the build out. Test results are the same thing. This is a QA thing. So here's where we were talking about earlier. These are the resolutions that are available on closing a ticket. So we're trying to limit the number of statuses, and a lot of these were statuses in Vision Flow previously. I didn't get to show you as many as I wanted, but there are a ton of keyboard shortcuts in Jira. And the most important one, again, James taught me this one here, and everybody I've shown this keyboard shortcut to, nobody knows about it. And including, I think it was Christopher didn't know about it. So maybe the Dematic guys might like this one. But so if you're on an issue, let's just go to this one here. And you want to do something, but you don't remember where it's at because it kind of hides some of these things. How do you log time? How do you do this? Blah, blah, blah. Hit the period, and you get this super handy little search. And you can see what I searched for previously. If I didn't have that in there, that still does it. So I often use it because I always forget where the dang log time area is. Log, oh, there it is. Enter. I spent 5 minutes working on this. Enter, done. All on the keyboard. So period. And you can search for anything. I think you can assign, you can link, do all these different things. Because like I said, it's not always right here, not always right here on your issue. So that's a super handy one. If anybody else knows any others, I'd love to know. What's up? Yes. That's a really good thing to show you guys. Glad you mentioned that. All right, so are people out here using Firefox? Just out of curiosity. Okay, good. Thank you. Proper browser users. Exactly. I like my memory. So there's a catch. Toggle. Who uses Toggle in this room? Really? Okay. First, I'm going to show you guys Toggle. Well, maybe this doesn't matter for partners as much. I don't know. Do you guys track your time per ticket? You guys don't either? Interesting. Nobody tracks time per ticket? I guess. Yeah. This is mostly an internal thing. We do. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I track time down to the minute that's where it's spent working. So I use a passive time tracker. It's very, very handy. And it has an integration that gives you a button on Jira to start that time tracking with the ticket information. So it's extremely nice, but since anybody want to see it? Because I'm happy to show it, but it sounds like not too many people would use it. Okay.